when companies start acting like thugs, it's time to beat them back. Don't you hate it when you log into PayPal and you discover that you've got $2,500 missing? And don't you hate it even more when it turns out PayPal took it away because of something you said? Hasn't happened yet, but it could. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Scott Ott and so Rachel filling in for Bill Whittle this week on Right Angle. I was hitting the sauce at lunch today. What do you want?
So funny.
And he's not even here. I can say his name however I want. He doesn't watch these shows when he's not on them, right? Okay. Folks, you might have heard that over the weekend, PayPal accidentally released a new, what do you call it? A acceptable use policy. That's the rules that PayPal users have to follow to stay PayPal users in good standing. And according to the new AUP, PayPal may deduct up to $2,500 from the accounts of users who spread misinformation. Yeah. Beginning November 3rd, the company will expand its list of prohibited activities, including the sending, posting, or publication of any messages, content, or materials that promote misinformation or present a risk to user safety or well-being. Users can also be penalized for the promotion of hate, violence, racial, or other forms of intolerance that is discriminatory. And Scott, of course, PayPal walked all this back. Well, they walked some of it back. They walked the misinformation part back. The rest they apparently left standing. When you've got unknown people at a giant company determining whether or not they can just siphon funds out of your PayPal account, does that inspire confidence the way, say, FDIC insurance helps you to trust your bank?
Yeah, I would have just preferred to have a list of the 7 words I can't say on PayPal. I mean, if there's some way we can know if we're tripping the tripwire, then we can know what other backup systems we need to have in place in case PayPal decides that they don't like what we say. It's interesting because it's really a list of legal stuff we don't like, or probably more accurately, legal stuff that we realize that it is not popular for us to not oppose. If that makes sense.
No, yes.
So, yeah, and so really they want to come out publicly and say, you know, which is one of the boldest statements of our era, we are against hate. You remember in the old days when all our friends and neighbors were for hate? That's not cool anymore. You have to be against it these days. And so, and it's not just discrimination against, vitriolic speech or horrible ideas or whatever. It gets to the point of ideas we don't like. And so if you think one way about a particular situation, we think another way. Since we are the channel through which your money passes, we can waylay some of that money. Now, again, as you said, they said, oh, well, we have no intention of doing that. That got out there by mistake. I'm like, by mistake? I mean, even if that was done in a draft committee and they said, hey, someday in case we need to have these guidelines, why don't you put them together for us? I would oppose that. Like, you've got to decide what business you're in. You know, I work in a retail business. I don't know how the people who buy stuff from me made their money. Am I going to start instituting some sort of screening process? Am I going to search their social media and go, you know what? I mean, I'm glad to sell this item, but man, if you got that money by saying false things or things I disagree with, I don't want to take your stinking money. You can't do business with me. It really begins to sound pretty childish. And there are an increasing number of alternatives to everything in the world, including PayPal. And so, and then, you know, back in the good old days, we bartered. So if we have to get to the point where, you know, Zoe is going to pay my YouTube channel with a chicken and I'm going to pay his with a fine fat goose, then we can go back to that if we need to. So to me, it looks like another major corporation attempting to send out a clear virtue signal, realizing that it was a dud, and then attempting to retract it, and just as Glenn Reynolds would say, beclowning themselves.
Yeah, Scott, you remind me of that classic Jimmy Stewart movie, It's a Wonderfully Hateful Life, in which that guy never contemplates suicide because his heart is so filled with loathing for his fellow man that it inspires him to go on and on and on. So over to you for this next one. PayPal claimed later, I think this was on Sunday or Monday, they went into emergency mode very quickly, that they had no intention of fining users for misinformation, but they did leave out the part about the promotion of hate, violence, racial, or other forms of intolerance. And it's still up to PayPal's sole discretion to interpret this AUP. Now, do you use PayPal at all for your business? And if you do, does this give you pause, make you consider other services?
Yeah, I use PayPal, not for much longer though. I'm getting out, man.
Yeah.
I got to get out. And people are like, they're looking for alternatives. I use a payment system called Cornerstone. It's a Christian money transfer system. So it's one of those things. And I'm not, giving a shameless plug. I think one of the things that we need to do is not just, look at the fall of something, but be there to fill the gap, and recommend something that, will be just as viable. But with PayPal, what they're doing, man, them trying to walk this back. They're going to sit here and say like this was an accident. But at the same time, is it an accident, PayPal, that you're not letting people close their accounts? It's like, why are you keeping people from closing their accounts? And people do that, like Google Ads or AdSense, whichever. I've been trying to close my account with them for a long time. They won't let me close it. But PayPal is going to do the same thing. It makes me wonder, Steve, am I crazy in thinking that somehow that this reeks of like the Berlin Wall, man? Like when we talk about like, people getting locked out of their accounts, it's like, man, I can't get in I've been on Facebook jail or something like that. I'm locked out of my accounts. No, man, that Berlin Wall wasn't to keep people from getting in. It was to keep people from getting out. And now PayPal is like, no, you can't leave. And when you can't leave, what if they decided, that $2,500 thing? Yeah, we're gonna still put that into play, and you can't leave. So if you happen to stumble and say something as arbitrary as whatever, we can just go ahead and fine you. But it's too bad you can't leave. So it's like you're just stuck in there. And this ain't like some sort of thing where you're late on your rent. Or you're late with a flipping library book or something like that, man. It's like, well, we have this condition where you're late with this, so I could charge you a fine. I got that. But something as arbitrary as, you didn't say something that we didn't like. And I mean, can that even really be legally binding? Can you do that? That's really, man. And being that these people are, they operate at the behest of the Democrat Party. Even institutions like this are weaponized by the Democrat Party. We know that they're on their payroll. We know that they're in bed with each other. So as far as I'm concerned, this is full-blown state censorship. And the state is punishing you. They're bringing punitive measures against you. If you say something, if you actually exercise the First Amendment, your right to the First Amendment, express a grievance or something like that. Yeah, we can go ahead and get you under the umbrella of or under the behind the curtain of PayPal.
Yeah, and while private businesses don't have to follow the First Amendment, if they're doing something essentially at the government's behest, the Supreme Court has ruled they have to respect your rights. They can't just indiscriminately do this kind of thing, and the Supreme Court's ruled that. I think we're going to see some big tech companies like Facebook and Google and PayPal in some serious legal trouble for this. At least I hope so.
Hope so.
Before I finish, I want to say the thing that I think Scott might have been too kind to say. PayPal's lying. They're just lying liars who lie. When they backtracked, here's what they said in their press release on Sunday or Monday. An AUP notice recently went out in error. That included incorrect information. PayPal is not fining people for misinformation, and this language was never intended to be inserted in our policy. Mark, get ready to bleep me. AUPs are like end user license agreements. These are written by the lawyers for the lawyers. Before this thing went out, it had more fine-toothed combs go through it than Cary Grant's hair. Okay, this was not an accident. All all that happened is they got caught, they got busted very, very publicly, and now they're trying to run it back. Don't let them do it. They're lying. And the only way I know how to deal with anything like this, PayPal acts too much like a bank not to be regulated like a bank. You put your money in, you get your money out, you expect your money to be there. If a bank stole $2,500 from you, you would have legal recourse. If PayPal does it, suddenly they have the ability to do this because they're PayPal. We need to crack down on these guys. And I'm essentially a small L libertarian when it comes to economics. But when companies start acting like thugs, it's time to beat them back. All right. That's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. And I want to thank Zoe for sitting in for Bill this week, and Scott for being here as always and so wonderful. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.